Well, people were really vehement about not removing the dam, particularly the neighbors in the hill just up this way that overlooks the park. They felt that they were going to be losing an asset to their neighborhood. They were concerned that it was just going to be a mud hole, that there would be mosquitoes, that there would be whatever that was unattractive here.
People at first were very, very skeptical of what was going to happen. But of course now, people know very well what's happened, and the whole city is enjoying it.
Since the 1700s, people have built dams to provide power for our growing nation. We relied on these dams for everything from irrigating our fields, to powering our lumber and grain mills, to manufacturing our clothing. In fact, we have built on average more than one dam every day since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Today, most of the mills are gone, but the dams remain. And while many dams continue to serve important purposes, there are thousands of obsolete dams, or dams that simply cause more harm than good. These dams block our waterways across the United States, putting a financial burden on the owners and harming the health of our rivers. Many communities are learning that maintaining a questionable dam is not in their best interest, that removing a dam and gaining a healthy, free-flowing river is actually a key asset for their future.
Back in the late 50s, early 60s, I think it was commonplace when businesses didn't know what to do with the dam or wanted to give it up. They went to the local community and said, geez, we're going to give you this wonderful dam, and to make it legal, we'll charge you $1 for it. Give us the $1. Now the dam is your responsibility. 1981, we received a notice from the Department of Natural Resources that we had several problems.
The average lifespan of a dam is about 50 years, and only regular maintenance and expensive repair can extend a dam's life. Many dams have gone neglected, and by the year 2020, the vast majority of our dams will be older than 50 years. This is a problem many communities can no longer afford to ignore. So what can we do when we're faced with an unsafe or obsolete dam, or one that simply causes more harm than good? Typically, there are three options: change how the dam is operated, repair it, or remove it. We'll take a look at three communities that removed a dam when faced with this decision: South Lake Tahoe, California, Augusta, Maine, and West Bend, Wisconsin. What were their concerns? What did they gain? And most importantly, what's their advice?
Well, as I recall, we were concerned about there probably was nothing but mud and muck underneath, and it was not going to be something that would ever be able to be used, and it would end up being a real eyesore. They were also concerned as to who was going to take care of it and how it was going to be taken care of. So I think a lot of people were concerned about what would happen with and what the looks would be once all of a sudden we saw a mud flat piece of land right in the middle of our city.
I think the most important thing is to have an alternative for people to look at. What will the area be like without the dam? Will it be an asset to the community? Will it be an asset to my property if I'm a neighborhood? You've got to have that alternative vision.
Together, the city and the community developed a plan for how the new land would be restored. This process helped people envision what the area would look like once the dam was removed.
One thing, though, I need to say, though, as well, is in this conservative community, cost was a significant issue. To replace the dam with a combined dam and bridge would have been $3.3 million. And you look at $86,000 to take out the dam, plus some work to develop a park, another $200,000 to get it seeded, and then continuing investments in park facilities that people could enjoy. Which are you going to get more for your money? from. And when they began to weigh that, the dam and bridge combination versus no dam and a park, it became clear that the balance was in favor of putting the money in a park.
Dam removal can be the logical choice for budget-conscious communities. Often repairs are more than 3 times as expensive as the one-time cost of removing a dam. And replacing the dam is usually even more expensive.
So we saved $1,800,000 by not replacing the dam. And we gained all of the land that was in the impoundment area, which was well over 67 acres of land that is now usable, that wasn't usable before.
The area that was underwater when the dam was in yet was extended all the way around onto this side here, that walkway there, all the way west to Indiana Avenue, which is a large area.
While residents today can enjoy a healthy, free-flowing Milwaukee River, one that includes fishing, recreation, and clean water, when the dam was in place, it was a different story.
Well, we live just on the other side of the woods over there, and in a new subdivision down where the dam used to be. It was nothing but just a big cesspool. People had tires in there and refrigerators, and it was really nasty, and it smelled horribly. It was bad news.
Not until the dam was removed did everyone realize that they had turned bad news and a liability into good news and an asset for the whole community.
They did a wonderful job. I mean, it's really made something out of nothing almost, out of garbage.
And it's beautiful, and all the prairie flowers that are coming up, and all the rabbits that are hopping along on the trails. What more would you want to see in nature?
I caught a 13.5 smallmouth bass over there.
All right. Have fun?
Yep.
It was your first cast, too.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely amazing to me that we could be so blind to this wonderful asset for so many years, and I was part of it. And you don't really realize what a wonderful thing having a river flowing through your town is. So now you say to me, what does that mean when you're in business? Well, I have to recruit people to come to this town, to go to work, to come to this company. So then I can walk them down to our river, and I can show them this beautiful river, and kids fishing, and public sculptures along the river. And I can take them to our cultural district, which is not too far from the river, and show them those things. It's a big selling point in recruiting people to come to work for this company, and in keeping them.
Getting rid of the dam and letting the water go through and improving the park this way, it's a lot more useful. It's a lot more usable to people. With the trails is real nice and stuff, and obviously my boys love the bridges.
So the whole attitude has changed, and now people want to be down, not only sitting along the river, walking along the river, but they also want to even be experiencing and touching the river. And so it really is a nice benefit for the public to have.
The city purchased about 50 acres out there in this dam and the lake. Lake Christopher was part of that. It was a man-made lake that had been created for the subdivision. And so the city acquired it in hopes of creating a recreation area, a sailing type lake, something like that. And then soon thereafter, the Bureau of Dam Safety, state of California, declared the dam unsafe. They went from a potential revenue source to a maintenance problem, right? So it was a bad decision, but looked like a good decision when originally purchased, but then in the end it turned out to be in the final outcome, it ended up being pretty good because we do have a nice restored meadow in this area now.
I think that the Lake Christopher Restoration Project was probably a project that no one would have had any logical opposition to. It was getting rid of a dam that for years had not held back any water. There had been a couple of unsuccessful attempts at fixing it. But I think that if the public information process had started out the way it has on other projects in Tahoe, everything would have gone smoothly.
Oh, the change, the difference in change, just that things were changing. around you and feeling somewhat powerless.
Success or failure can hinge on the public's understanding and support. In South Lake Tahoe, public education about the plan to remove the dam and to restore Cold Creek did not begin early enough. The project came to a halt when residents found out that trees needed to be cut and that the diversion ditch enjoyed by the neighbors had to be relocated.
Cold Creek was put in a ditch on the far side of the lake and was very linear, confined channel that could not overtop its banks and flood the meadow and deposit sediment in the meadow as streams do naturally. Essentially, it was a pipeline of sediment moving downstream into Lake Tahoe.
Dams interrupt the natural balanced flow of sediment. This can cause entire watersheds down to the coastal areas to be sediment-starved, while others, such as Lake Tahoe, are overloaded. Restoring streams like Cold Creek helps distribute sediment naturally throughout the whole watershed. Through numerous public hearings and site walks, citizens were able to get the facts and have their concerns addressed. After almost a year of delay, public trust was reestablished and the project was able to move forward. Usually, dam removal does not require extensive engineering. Nature will take care of itself. But there are cases where the landscape is so disturbed that intensive stream restoration is needed, like Cold Creek.
This is the site as it looked in 1987, right after the dam was drained out. The dam was located across the narrow part of the valley here, and this picture was taken standing on the dam as it was draining.
After the dam was removed, the old diversion ditch was filled and a new stream bed was created so that Cold Creek could once again meander through the meadow.
Instead of piping sediment out to the lake, we're putting water back on the land, we're rewatering the meadow, we're growing vegetation, we're depositing sediment where it belongs on the land, not in the water. So we're helping Lake Tahoe, we're restoring fisheries, we're restoring wildlife habitat like waterfowl habitat. I think it's 75% of the wetlands and 50% of the meadows in urban areas around the Tahoe Basin have been destroyed or altered. And so a project like this is a very significant step in bringing back some of that lost habitat.
Now that the project's completed and it's been stable for several years and has performed in every way that, like the Conservancy suggested and proposed it would perform, I'm kind of embarrassed that I was ever opposed to stream restoration. But it took an educational process.
You know, you really have to think about what you're going to hand down to your children. Restoring something to its natural beauty, I think, is something that people will never regret.
We're pounding in willow sticks, and they'll sprout out and they'll grow to be full-size willow bushes, and then it gives a protection to the fish that will eventually be in here. And really, it doesn't take that much time, and it for the time it takes, it helps so much more.
Actually, we wouldn't be able to do this trip if they hadn't removed the dam.
Yeah, the water.
It's the first time in 160 years that the river's been open all the way to Augusta.
Oh, really?
So, and the other day we kayaked from Fort Halifax to here, and we could see fish, and we kept seeing all these ripples, and the next day we read in the paper how there were huge fish all of a sudden making their way up to Winslow. So, my daughter wasn't too keen on the idea that she had been seeing real fish, but.
The Kennebec River in Maine was once one of the nation's most productive fisheries. 10 species of fish inhabited the river, including thriving runs of sturgeon, shad, and Atlantic salmon. In 1837, the Edwards Dam was built to provide mechanical power and later electrical power for sawmills, a grist mill, and a textile mill. The dam helped fuel the Industrial Revolution. Over time, the mills closed and other power sources were built. And in July 1999, the Edwards Dam was removed in order to bring back the historic fish populations that long ago inhabited the river in record numbers. After 12 years of debate, change is happening quickly on the Kennebec River.
It's amazing how fast the rivers are covering. You know, grass and trees are growing on the banks, and it's already looking more natural than it did before they took it out. Weeks after the dam was officially out, I saw stripers up here, literally weeks. And I think no one believed me at first until somebody actually hooked onto one. Then they put it in the paper, and then it was kind of believable.
So we're encouraged. You know, we've seen pretty much most of the migratory fish species that historically utilize the habitat. We have seen American shad, fairly large numbers of river herring, and sturgeon, and rainbow smelt, American eel, and striped bass. They are moving past Augusta, where the old Edwards Dam was. And we also had one sighting of an Atlantic salmon that leapt out of the water up near Waterville.
Didn't want it to happen. Didn't think there'd be any water left. I thought I had a piece of property that was real nice that was going to end up being not so nice.
As in every community, people had concerns about the unknown. The positive changes are taking people by surprise, even turning ardent opponents into supporters.
Just the opposite. My water stayed the same. More fishing, more uses of the river. It definitely improved it. I had to eat some crow. I didn't think it was going to, but it did. So, and I think if you give everything a chance, nature will straighten itself out, but you got to give it a chance.
Nature got its chance when citizens, natural resource agencies, anglers, conservation groups, and the state government finally agreed that a restored, free-flowing Kennebec River was more valuable than the small amount of electric power generated by the dam.
We finally concluded that the best result was to remove the dam, and that given the fact that the license was coming up to be renewed and there was very little electricity being generated, that it really made more sense to do it the right way and to just remove the dam. That's why we don't have indefinite licenses to run dams. And so we can take that second look at various times in our history and see whether or not the dam is continuing to serve the purpose that it was originally granted the license for.
The Edwards Dam, like most hydroelectric dams, was regulated and licensed by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. When the Edwards Dam 30-year license was up for renewal, citizens of Maine lobbied FERC, saying that only by removing the dam would they bring back the historic fishery and enjoy the many benefits of a free-flowing Kennebec River. FERC finally agreed in 1998 and ordered the Edwards Dam to be removed. This was the first time they denied a license renewal and ordered the removal of an operating dam.
There was a minimal environmental impact. We had no complaints whatsoever. All the governing bodies were very pleased, and I think the project went extremely well. The dam was 917 feet long. It was 140 feet wide. So I felt a little bit sad even ripping it apart, but now when I come back, I look out here, I watch these sturgeon, I know where the hole is, where they jump out of the water, and it's beautiful. But definitely when it started, I was a little bit, is this the right thing? But today I guess I feel that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, more people can use it for, a wider variety of things now, and I certainly don't miss it. I'm sure it had its purpose, but we're happy without it.
Hopefully, the kids will take it up and continue the same sort of crusade, like to keep the rivers clean and bring the fish back, and hopefully they'll see more bountiful runs than we ever will see in our lifetime. We never thought that we'd ever see the dam go out. So this is a bonus, a real bonus.
Initially, the city was opposed. The dam represented
the economic lifeblood of the city for 100 years. Generations of people had come to Augusta to work in the mills and in the industries and commercial enterprises that sprang up as a consequence of the mill. So naturally there was a sense that it was not a good thing to remove this dam.
Within a very short time, people in Maine began to see that restoring free-flowing rivers by removing a dam also brings new options for economic revitalization. As in West Bend and other communities, the restored Kennebec River is a new economic force.
I think the dam removal was the catalyst for the enhanced city-state relationship, which led to some new monies coming in, which led to some new business interests. I think it's all intricately connected. We've had several out-of-town developers step up to the plate and buy buildings in the downtown area. We're looking right across at a couple of them that one very well-respected Portland developer has acquired and has told me the reason he acquired them was because he thinks that this is potentially the next upscale old port development. The old port in Portland, Maine is a very successful commercial revitalization effort. And he thinks that that's this place 5 or 6 years down the road.
Dams can provide important services, but these services come at a cost. The people of West Bend, South Lake Tahoe, Augusta, and many other communities have learned that despite their initial fears, dam removal can be affordable. It increases their quality of life, benefits the environment, and expands their economic opportunities. They found that taking a second look at their dams is an important part of planning their future.